But these housing projects were very important for several reasons, and Daley wasn't the only one who wanted them. I mean, the black submachine was really for them too, because they were a way to consolidate votes. It was very easy for a precinct captain to kind of march up the towers and down, and there was so much dependency. People could, felt that they would have to vote the machine ticket, or they'd be thrown out of their apartments. And the precinct captain was the guy, and usually was a guy, who got out the votes. And if
did he buy them?
Sometimes there were lots of different ways. There was something called four-legged voting, where the precinct captain would literally walk into the voting booth with a voter and help them pull down the lever. So a reporter who covered elections told us he saw one precinct captain pull down the lever 70 times at the start of the day. They would go into flop houses and get the names of the winos and kind of register them as voters. They would offer them everything from nylons to Christmas trees to eyeglasses to get them to vote. If they didn't turn out the vote, they were, as it was called, viced. That meant that they lost their paycheck, their job. And we interviewed a lot, we read a lot, we interviewed a lot of people who were working in the election, including a son of a precinct captain who said that they got a knock late at night and said, we need 30 more votes from your precinct. The vote theft was extraordinary. I mean, the four-legged voting, the bribing people, there was a guy named Short Pencil Lewis who was famous for erasing out names. In 1955, he erased out Kennelly and put in Daley on many different ballots. So this was widespread. It was sort of accepted that it was going to happen. Poll watchers, Republican poll watchers were sent home for threatened. They were really irrelevant.
Did you find evidence that actual cash money was ever paid to anybody to vote?
People would tell us stories of paying people, but they would also just, for instance, go into a flop house and, because liquor stores were closed those on election day, and to, give booze to winos so that they would vote. There was, they'd give, one woman said, "Oh, I can't vote for you," she said to a reform candidate, "because I get a Christmas tree from my precinct captain. He gives everyone a Christmas tree. You can't afford that." So it was a lot of sort of gifts in kind. There was a lot of that sort of thing going on.
You cited
and jobs.
A 1972 Chicago Tribune series on vote fraud. What did you find in that 72 series of articles?
We interviewed some of the people who'd worked on those stories and the stories very carefully. The precinct records were erased and made up, and the precinct captains were threatening Republicans. It was not it's an honest, open system at all.
Talk about the reporter going to the McCoy Hotel, wherever that is, and then registering as James Joyce and Henry David Thoreau and all that, and no one ever caught him.
No, Bill Rechtenwald, a longtime reporter, and he also had worked for the Better Government Association. Yeah, he told us those tales.